Hello everyone, and this is the third video I've recorded in a row with yet another PlayStation Final Fantasy song. Why? Because they're just awesome, man. Just awesome. Anyway, so yeah, the Final Fantasy Tactics banner is out and about, and many people are wondering about, are they good? Where should I LB3, LB4, LB5 them? Well, you can check that other video I probably uploaded before this one. Probably. Anyway, regardless, there has been something that somebody asked for, so I'm trying to get around to these videos. If you do put the comment, it's kind of hard because I'm just kind of busy with work and whatnot, but I am trying to get around to some of these videos that I've been wanting to make for a little bit, and this is one of them. Budget tanks and healers. Well, quite honestly, a lot of people have been wondering about, what are some cheaper, free-to-play, friendlier options than, the URs that everybody is running. And that's kind of an interesting point. Because before we start this video, before we talk about, the cheap versions, the MR versions, there is something that you guys also need to really consider, and that is potentially just putting a little bit of lapis. I know it's called something else, but for the sake of every single video for the rest of time, it is lapis. Putting some resources, lapis, away to potentially pull on future banners, because I get it. I understand that sometimes you have other priorities. You're going to be wanting a lot of different DPSs, you're going to be wanting a lot of different this, a lot of different that. But to be totally honest, it really is a good idea to potentially not necessarily too heavily invest right now into a lower MR quality character, and instead maybe just save for a future banner that you know is going to be really good. So I'm going to talk about this in twofold. One, in terms of the free current and MR stuff, and half of this in terms of future units that are just incredibly good and probably are the ones you should just save for and get, and just kind of half use an MR in the meantime. I mean, you can temporarily invest them to like Awakening level 4 and probably be fine. Probably. Anyway, so I'm just going to tell you the bad news right now. And when it comes right down to who you should be using as a potential character for a tank, well, if we're going to look in the lower classes, then it's Mont. It's not even a difficult choice. Mont is the cheapest, user-friendliest option. He has good DPS, and he has pretty darn good stats overall, and a pretty solid and easy to get TMR as well. I'd be really surprised, other than Ishtola, if there was something else that was a lot of people's first TMR, and I do mean a lot of people, not just whales. But this unit is absolutely great as a physical tank. Put the Lover's card on him and he's basically set. I used him for 4 months as my tank, and the only reason that I'm considering replacing him now is because Agrias came along, that sexy thing, because she really is. She's an absolutely amazing support unit as well as a really good tank. So I put Agrias just high over Mont at this point because I finally made the upgrade. But in general, I really think that if you just want the freest to playest, optionist, everest, Mont is good. Mont is actually really insane. He has really good stats, really good defense. Will he protect you against magic? No, but as far as I know, there isn't a really good free-to-play magic tank. But yeah, looking at who also there is, like if you're looking for a cheaper option, well, for tank, it's probably going to be Nasia, and I know I have one of her. There she is. You know her as the ice tank. Like, she also has some healing options too, so she could potentially be both. It may put a little bit of strain on her trying to be both a tank as well as a healer, but in general, she's been I've never heard any really big complaints about her. Some people I know have used her and found her to be quite decent. does she excel over something like Mont? No, you're going to be needing to buy shards for her, which is going to be more expensive, which is going to use more of your currency, and that's not quite as good. It's probably just better to go with Mont. So let's switch gears and talk about healers. And the healers, really quickly, I think I do need slightly the lower rarity. There are some just flat, decent, good SR healers. This is still considered to be 4th place for healers on the JP side. She is really easy to max out. You are probably going to have a mass amount of her shards as well as other things since you've been pulling and just getting duplicates of her. But she has good healing options. She also has a few other mage options too. But being a pure mage, provided that you have a properly set up team, she should not be doing frontline stuff. She will just be majorly healing, and that is good enough for her. That is really all you need to know. She is a viable option. Again, I would not throw a mass amount of resources at her because it's just not a good long-term investment. Now, the other unit that I need to find real quick. Another good healing option, also with Time Mage, but you're going to have to make the decision whether you want to go for, Cleric and Time Mage or Cleric and White Mage. Either way, there's also a little bit of flexibility there as you're going with classes. This is, again, a slightly higher rarity character, so, how much you'll be able to get out of her really depends whether you can get to LB3, and she won't be quite as easy to unlock, but she does place higher than the previous unit. And continuing on, the last one, and this, I just realized, oh, never mind, there she is, and there she's gone, is this one, who is considered to be the 2nd place healer on the Japanese side. I got a little tongue-tied there. Overall, keeping her as a pure white mage is a decent option. Cleric if you want a little more flexibility, but just as a pure free-to-play pure white mage, this will do you well. She uses light elements, so you might have a little bit of problems with the fact that Ramza also shares some elements if you've been building Ramza. If you haven't, disregard this message. Maybe you're building Mashley, but you get some all attack type resistance as well as magic power up 20% from her character quest. This thing right here. And that makes for a really solid healer. Will she outdo Ayaka? No, nobody outdoes Ayaka. Ayaka has a limit burst that heals for thousands. It's ridiculous. It's insane. That's why Ayaka was one of the best units to start investing on. But yeah, if you want good options for healers, there you are. They're all decent in their own way. They don't outshine Ayaka, and no one at this point ever will. No one. No. You might think that there's a Final Fantasy VII remake, collaboration in the future, and you might think Aerith is coming, but you're wrong. You're wrong, viewer. You're just wrong. But I digress. Anyway, so there are some of your current options, but I would like to put in a few words for some future units as well. Obviously, when it comes to tanks, Warrior of Light, he is the best tank currently on the JP side, followed by Engelbert, followed by a few other characters, including Dario, Rain, as well as Agrius. And I'm a little iffy on that. Particularly, I think that Warrior of Light, the reason why Warrior of Light is valued so high, although noted, viewers, that he is a limited time character, meaning that you essentially do have to, like the Final Fantasy Tactics banner, you're going to have to pull particularly hard to try and get him up to LB5 or at least LB4 before the end of the event. Either way, Warrior of Light is considered to be a really strong DPS while also being a really strong tank. My problem with him is his direct-to-counter already existed on the JP side, and that kind of makes him a little bit less valuable, but still one of the strongest tanks to be sure. Followed by Engelbert. I don't think we really need to introduce Engelbert. He has just been available on the global side since the beginning, as well as the JP side. Next up is Dario. Now, this is a character that you guys have not seen. He comes on the JP Venera banner, who was the character I just showed previously. Like she was the last character, the Warrior of Light counter. This guy also came with it. He is a lower rarity character, but also has the advantage of being a Spellblade and a ninja, meaning that he has good speed, good movement, as well as just some mage options too for, dishing out some pretty good damage. Either way, I gotta say that this unit has particularly higher value as well because Cryo is a thing on JP currently. But if you were looking for a lower rarity character that is also an amazing tank, there you go. Dario is a good option. Rain is not limited time. He is a primarily magic tank and magic damage dealer. So if you guys are big FFBE fans, then he might be the one you want to go for, and you should just start saving now. Again, not a limited time character. You can farm his shards, but yeah. Anyway. And of course, for people who want to go during the Tactics Part 2 event, there's also, of course, Agrias, one of my current favorite units, just amazing support while also being a tank. I think she is just really quite decent. Now, I think that's basically all that I want to talk about in terms of tanks for the future. Let's talk about healers, and this is a much shorter conversation because there are only 2 healers that I'm going to really recommend in the future. Now, the first of them is a lower rarity character, a MR quality character, and the only, keep in mind, this is the only MR character that I have seen to break into the double S tier on Japan. In other words, meaning the highest ranked, the highest quality characters. She is currently actually 3rd place in terms of magic attackers. She is really just that strong. She also has White Mage as a secondary option, followed by Ninja, meaning that she is incredibly agile. She has incredibly powerful magic damage dealing attacks. But also, beyond that, she also has White Mage abilities giving her healing for your entire team. She places a fair bit lower than healer because she's primarily a damage dealer, but she could do both, and she is very good at everything she does. Maybe not Ninja, but Ninja's just really there to give her speed passives, and she uses it quite well. So if you were looking for a healer / damage dealer in the future that pairs well with Orlandu, as well as potentially Frederica to make the whole Thunder team a thing, well, this is a fantastic unit for that. So she comes, I think, probably in about 1.5 to 2 months on the global side. In there. But if there is one last unit I am definitely going to recommend, it is one of the highest rated units, period, on the Japanese side, and that is Cryo. Cryo is insane. The more that I have used Cryo, even at LB1, the more I am just fantastically impressed at how well her kit is. Her kit is insane. She has a AoE limit burst that deals a pretty darn good amount of damage. She has ways of improving her own range of movement early on in the fight, and then continuing to use that. She is primarily an Earth Mage, but she also has non-elemental and light elemental damage dealing, and more importantly, that light elemental damage comes from her White Mage part of her kit, where she can deal holy damage and wholly ignores evasion, so that is why that is so strong. But yeah, Cryo also has incredible healing capabilities as well. Everything about Cryo is just so good, and Cryo, unlike a lot of other units, actually has a defense stat. That may not sound like much to you global players, but most units don't have a defense stat. See? And it's just right here. But yeah, Cryo is by far one of the best other options for a White Mage, as well as a damage dealer. And so yeah, there is the discussion of, well, the lower rarity characters, the future characters, the current characters. And to me, here's the way I always have I am really starting to look at WOTV. WOTV is a very long-term game. Brave Exvius is a very short-term game. Brave Exvius very much rewards just kind of that instant, boom, I got something kind of thing, I'm going to use it kind of thing. War of the Visions is a very long-term game where you grind stuff up, but you see progress from your grinding, right? It's not just instant gratification in the game. And to that extent, there is a certain value to potentially not going for the easy thing. For not going with something like, you know, too heavily into a lower rarity character and potentially saving up and going for a Kryl or a Thalia and using those characters to much better advantage. Of course, I will not make the decision for you guys. I assume that all of you out there are capable of making your own decisions and living with the consequences of your own decision. Regardless, with the information, you should be able to choose, and I think that there are a ton of great options for healers, tanks, free to play, or potentially saving into the future. But I will leave that to you. So, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Sorry if I droned on a bit, but you know, a lot of things to talk about. Anyway, take care.